The SCENIC ROUTE. Jane was driving home from college during the fall break. It was normally a 2-hour drive, but she was the kind of girl who loves to experience the changing of seasons, and so she decided to extend her route home by driving deep into the woods with the hopes of seeing some brilliant autumn colours. However, this extended route was likely to add 45 minutes to her travel time to get home. She had taken the route a couple of times before, so she wasn't unfamiliar. She did this when she was in an adventurous mood, but she'd never experienced it during autumn. She wanted to get immersed in the explosion of gold, amber, crimson and rust colours, which would be nothing short of magnificent. So as she drove along, her eyes were transfixed by the beauty of the trees and the leaves, and she didn't notice a gigantic buck jump out in front of her car. Without even thinking, she stabbed on the brakes and came to a screeching halt, stopping just a couple of feet from the impressive creature's muscled body. The buck stood relaxed, never even flinching by the near collision, and it stared directly at Jane for a brief moment, and then pranced away. Jane let out a deep sigh of relief, and then she stepped on the gas to get moving again, only to realise that her car engine had died on her. A feeling of unease ran right through her. This was not the ideal place to have a mechanical breakdown. But then a wave of relief splashed over her when she turned the key and the engine sprung into life, roaring away. Unfortunately, however, her feeling of comfort was premature, as the engine died on her again as soon as she shifted the automatic into drive. She then repeated the process of attempting to start at least a dozen times before coming to the conclusion that the car wasn't going anywhere. She reached out for a cell phone, and wouldn't you know, there was no cell service, and so Jane was stranded, all alone, in the middle of nowhere. And so Jane had no signal on her mobile phone, and she was stuck in the middle of nowhere without her car operating. And so she sat there waiting for 20 minutes, half an hour, in the hope that someone would stop and help her. But not a single car drove by. So Jane decided to get out and start walking. The nearest town was a 30-minute drive away, so there was no chance of it or making it there on foot. She hoped that maybe somewhere down the road she'd get a signal on her phone, and she'd maybe use that to call for help. But an hour later, she still didn't have a signal on her cell phone, and not even one car had passed by. And to top that, there was a gentle mist of rain starting up, and Jane knew she was in real trouble. And then there was some optimism when she heard the distant hum of an engine, and it was getting closer. Someone was finally coming down the road. As the vehicle came into view, she recognised it as an extremely old flatbed pickup truck, and it was rusted to hell. The truck slowed down and came to a halt next to Jane. The driver leaned over and unrolled the passenger's side window. "Hey baby," he says, "what's a little fox like you doing all alone out this way?" The man was slender and had long greasy hair. He was wearing a filthy white tank top covered with a thin camouflage type jacket. "My car broke down," she said. He nodded and flashed a tobacco-stained smile. "Yeah, I saw it," he said. Jane was extremely uncomfortable as this dirty man looked her up and down for an inappropriate amount of time before continuing. "Hop on in. I'll give you a lift to town." Jane looked the truck over in consideration of this offer. That's when she saw a bloody deer carcass lying on the flatbed of his truck. He noticed that she was eyeing the animal. "Oh, don't worry about her. She won't bite. Get on in here." He pushed the driver's side door open. Jane stood still as she contemplated her options, which were basically accepting his ride or continue to walk on her own. He could see this, and there was impatience in the man's face. Jane noticed this, and she didn't want to keep him waiting any longer. So she gave him her answer, her choice. "Thank you, but I think I'll just walk." He chuckled. "Walk? Walk to where?" "The nearest town is a 30-minute drive from here. It will take you 8 hours to walk there. Now stop being a damn fool and get in the truck." It was at this point the gentle mist of rain transformed into a heavy drizzle, and Jane changed her mind reluctantly and got into the strange man's truck, which reeked of body odour and stale tobacco. Glad to see you came to your senses, he says.